Good morning, guys. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is not on a topic that I normally cover on this channel. I'm going to be doing 10 things that I wish I knew before getting a German Shepherd puppy. As many of you know, we did get a German Shepherd puppy back in December. We got him when he was 8 months old, not 8 months, 8 weeks. So 2 months old, and he is currently 5 months old. So we've had him for 3 months. And I'm kind of a novice dog mom, like I'm a new dog mom. I've never had a large breed puppy like this in my life. We've had a German Shepherd, but that was when I was a child. And I don't really remember like the training or the upkeep or anything that went into that dog. So long story short, I really didn't know what I was getting into. But me and my partner and my daughter as well, we've wanted a dog for such a long time, and German Shepherd was just really high up on the list. A lot of people ask why we chose that breed. Honestly, we've just always wanted a larger breed dog. We always wanted a smart dog. We've always wanted a loyal, protective family dog, and German Shepherd just seemed to tick off all of the qualities that we liked in a dog. Also, we thought they were really beautiful, and that was the breed of dog I had as a child. Without too much further ado, you guys, let's get into the 10 things I wish I knew before getting a German Shepherd puppy. Now, granted, he is still a puppy, and I may very well come back and change some of these statements or add to some of these statements as he gets older, because we haven't gone through that quote-unquote teenage phase yet. But let's get into the 10 things. All right, the first thing I wish I would have known, and I think this goes for most large breed dogs, is just to start larger with pretty much everything because they grow so quickly. So when we got him as a 2-month-old puppy, we obviously were catering to him at that age. The size of his water dish and food bowl, his dog bed, his leash, his collar. There's certain things that you have to start small with because they're just too small to use anything larger. Like the water dish and food dish should be closer to the ground and stuff like that. But when it comes to like crates, dog beds, things that they are going to grow into and use forever, I wish we just would have started larger. You can get crates that have like a separator in between them, and you can make the crate larger as you need as they grow. I wish we just would have done that because we actually ended up purchasing 3 different sizes of crate, which is insane. But I didn't realize just how big he was going to get and like how much room we would need. And finally, I just decided to get the biggest crate that there was because I knew he would be a very large dog. He is projected to weigh at least 90 pounds when he's older. That's the trajectory he's on based on his weight and how old he is right now. That said, I have to talk more about the whole crate thing later. But in terms of starting out with supplies like exercise pens, dog beds, things like that, don't continually buy new sizes every few months because you're just going to end up wasting so much money. We've purchased at this point 3 dog beds because the first one was too small. The second one he already is starting to outgrow, so we have now bought a 3rd dog bed. And a dog bed is something you can start off with a large size when they're little. Same thing with exercise pens. They grow so fast and so quickly. There's no point in getting like a small exercise pen only to, in 2 or 3 months, have to get the largest size that there is because they're so big and so strong. Even though at the end of the day, we didn't even end up using the exercise pen. So that's another thing I wish we would have known, is to not waste so much money buying a bunch of stuff we didn't need. And also the stuff you do buy, just for the most part, start large because they're going to grow into it and they grow so quickly, and you're just going to end up wasting your money buying multiple sizes of things. So point number 2, something I wish I would have known, stems from point number 1, which is that you don't even have to crate train. I wish somebody would have told me it's okay not to crate train and that you don't have to crate train. So when I was looking up like puppy training videos, I didn't even know crate training was a thing. Like I didn't even know. My whole life growing up, we've never had dogs in crates ever. Even when they were puppies. I remember we once had a beagle puppy. He was never in a crate. We never locked him up in a kennel. Even when we left the house, he never slept in a kennel. We just trained them to pee outside, and I don't even remember them like destroying the house, to be honest. And when I was doing a lot of reading, crate training is something that's very popular in the western part of the world, but it's not so popular over in like Europe and even Australia and other places. A lot of people feel that crate training is like really a foreign thing, and they're confused as to why anyone actually does it. I think it's more so because Americans lead such a busy lifestyle and are out of the house a lot, or I don't know. I'm not really sure why I feel like it's maybe a convenience thing. And I know that dogs are supposed to be den animals and they like having that small, quiet space. That definitely holds true even with my dog. He likes to sleep in a comfortable like corner, a dark, comfortable corner away from the busyness. But we started crate training because that's what all the dog videos said to do. That's what so many people did. And if you at all like even hinted that you didn't want to crate train or that it wasn't going so well or that you weren't sure if you were going to, it was almost like people would shame you. And I don't know if that's because they just wanted to make themselves feel better about their choice to crate train, but they would just come at you and be like, oh, you have to crate train. If you don't crate train, you're doing a huge disservice to you and the dog, blah, blah, blah. They're den animals. They need that safe space. And they just made me feel so terrible. They're like, if you ever get into a car crash and he's not in a kennel, all these horrible things can happen. And, if he ever has to go to the vet, which I totally understand some of that logic, but we tried crate training to the point that I would say 80% of the training I did with this dog when he was younger circled in and around the crate. It was all about the crate, with the ultimate goal being that he could stay in the crate for hours at a time and he would not cry and he would just learn to be okay in the crate for hours at a time. And I know that a lot of dogs are eventually okay with that, but he just was never happy being in his crate. He was okay to go in the crate, but if you ever shut the door and then left, that was when all heck would ensue. It felt like we were constantly fighting an uphill battle and fighting to train him to do something that he really didn't want to do. And the way he looked at us too, it was almost like he knew, he was like, do you think I'm this stupid? You're trying to train me to stay in this thing? Are you serious? And he was just so smart. So I wish somebody would have told us that you didn't have to use a crate. A lot of people I spoke to said, no, you don't have to. It's totally a personal choice. So what we ended up doing was baby gating one room of the house. I'll talk more about that after, but he has never destroyed anything. I mean, knock on wood, he hasn't gone through the teenage phase yet. He's started to destroy a couple things, and then we've trained him out of that as he's gotten older. But he is just such a good dog. If we ever leave the house, he doesn't go around and get into mischief. He usually just plays with a toy, chews on something he's allowed to chew on, and then goes and takes a nap in a couple of his preferred places and waits for us to get home. That's what he does. He's never ever been left in a crate when we've left the house, and he's never been left in a crate overnight. The very first night we got him, we tried to let him sleep in a crate. It was a disaster. I realized pretty quickly that he needed that warmth and that comfort that he would normally have gotten from his mom and his litter mates. So I slept with him on the couch for the first week. And I think that was really good because that helped us with bonding and stuff like that. And also we were closer to the front door to go out for potty breaks. But yeah, the crate was just not happening right from the very first night. And I think that the way things ended up happening organically was probably the best way it could have resulted for us. But long story short, I could talk all day about the crate, but point number 2 is I wish I would have known you do not have to crate train. It also would have saved us hundreds of dollars on crates and a lot of hours of trying to train this dog to do something he would never eventually do anyway and didn't want to do. Point number 3 is that I wish that I would have baby gated off the house early. I didn't start getting baby gates and installing baby gates until I sort of realized I had to. And at that point, it started getting pretty stressful because initially we thought we were going to probably use a crate, so we didn't have baby gates. Then as we were going along, realizing the crate wasn't a thing, probably wasn't going to stick, then we realized, well, let's just section off a part of the house, which turned out to be the living room. The living room, first of all, we puppy-proofed the entire house for the most part. But the living room seemed to be the most ideal place to section off with baby gates because that was a place we spent most of our time. It was close to the front door. It was perfect for him learning how to go outside to do his business. And we could tend to all of his needs. And also we have fake hardwood in the living room, laminate flooring. So easy to clean up if you had a mess. So I wish that early on we would have gotten a couple baby gates and sectioned off the living room right off the get-go. It would have made our lives so much easier. And also we could have spent less time and stress and money struggling with the whole crate situation if we just would have done the whole sectioning off our room thing. I guess it's different with every breed. And I think that the fact that he's a German Shepherd probably influenced a lot of the reasons and the ways that we did things that we did. But yeah, I just wish we would have known right off the get-go, just section off your living room, one room closest to the front door, and make that your training room and make that your puppy-proof room and make that the room where he's safe, he can play, and you can teach him how to go outside and do his business. And also he doesn't have free run of the house and can destroy things. So that's one thing I wish we would have done. I also wish I would have known, and this is obviously very naive on my part, that a 2-month-old puppy has to go outside every 2 hours to go potty. I did not know that. And because I've never had a puppy from this age before, like I did have a puppy from this age, but for some reason I don't recall it being this difficult, maybe because we had another dog at the time. And so that the puppy would just follow the larger dog around. So it came very second nature to him how to use the bathroom and when to use the bathroom and where to go. I think he just copied the older dog. But I had not done a lot of research, and I did not know that a 2-month-old dog would have to go out every 2 hours to go potty. I did not know that my entire sleep schedule would be completely interrupted, and I didn't know that it would essentially be like having a baby in the house, like a brand new baby, which I can attest to because I've had babies. I know how it is getting up every 2 hours in the night. I wish I would have known that because I would have planned my whole life around it a little bit better, like to accommodate work and everyone's schedules and sleep and all of this stuff. So that's one thing I wish I would have known. If you're thinking about getting a dog, I would suggest definitely do a lot of research first. I did not do near enough research. With that, I'm just going to add an extra thing I wish I would have known is just don't even do the puppy pad thing. We bought 2 things of puppy pads thinking that we were going to use them. I don't know why, because we only used them like for 2 days and he caught on so fast. He caught on so fast to pee on the puppy pads, but the ultimate goal is not to get him to pee somewhere in the house. The ultimate goal is to get him to pee outside. And I wish we just would have started right from the get-go, just only focusing on going outdoors, because I think we underestimated how quickly he would learn. And we were just thinking, well, if he goes in the house, hopefully he goes on the pad. But he caught on so fast with going outside. I think we literally had him like fully potty trained within about like 2 to 3 weeks. Probably 3 weeks. Honestly, and there was no more accidents inside the house. So we wasted a lot of money on pee pads, and I think pee pads are good and they have their place if you can't be with the dog all the time, if you have to use an exercise pen, if you have to leave the house for long hours. We didn't have to do that in the initial stages, so for us it didn't make sense to have pee pads. So I wish we just would have saved our money and just focused on taking him out for all of those pees. I think one of the biggest things that helped was I was able to take some time off of work, and that really helped with getting him trained. If you can at all take like an entire month, if possible, where you don't work as much or at all if you can, or somebody's at home with them all the time, I would really recommend that because I think that made training so much better and so much quicker. The 5th thing I wish I would have known, and this is probably one of the biggest things, honestly, is not to read all of the Reddit forums and hear everybody else's experience with puppies, and not to watch all of the dog training videos, because although there was some good helpful tips, I definitely learned some pretty good tips from some of these dog training videos, and also some nice stories from people on Reddit who'd had German Shepherds. It was nice to see like a variety of different experiences because not everybody has the same experience with dogs. But ultimately what watching a lot of these videos did and reading the forums, it gave me intense anxiety, so much anxiety, because instead of just living in the moment with the dog and taking it day by day, hour by hour, training moment by training moment, and like teaching them those things as they come, instead of that, it was like I was bombarded in my head with all of these expectations, and not a lot of them were good. Like expectations of the teenage phase, how horrible teething was going to be, that he was going to destroy my house. People saying that we were going to hate our dog until he was a year old, that we wouldn't even like our dog until he was a year old, that he was just going to be a little demon, a little hellion, that it was going to destroy our lives because the puppy phase is this and this and this. Also the stress and the guilt of the fact that we weren't crate training. And it was like these dog training videos are constantly crate train after crate train after crate train. It was just like drilled into your head. If you weren't crate training, you're a bad dog mom. And watching these puppy training videos where they're doing things a certain way, and we would try those certain things with our dog and it wasn't working, it just makes you feel like such a failure. And honestly, you guys, dogs are not rocket science. Like, dogs have been with men for centuries and they didn't have these dog training videos. It comes very naturally to dogs to do certain things, and it comes very naturally to humans to train dogs to do certain things. And so some of our training, yes, I did learn from videos, but not very much. A lot of it was just like, it just came naturally as he grew and as we spent time with him. And so I wish I wouldn't have spent so much time reading into other people's expectations and experiences. It just made me feel so anxious because all day I was thinking about all of these things instead of just being present with the dog and working on what we needed to do in that moment. So I would say yes, like, get the basics down in terms of like potty training and sleep schedules, and learn about the sleep needs of a dog and learn about their exercise needs and all of that kind of stuff. But beyond that, like, I wish I just would have chilled a little bit, because my anxiety went through the roof so bad, I almost needed to go on medication. I was so stressed out and anxious about the dog. The next thing I wish I would have known is the phrase, keep your expectations low and your patience high, because I did not realize, I was a little naive, and maybe I didn't do enough research, or maybe it just hit me because I thought I knew what I was getting into, but then it was harder than I thought. I wish I just would have known that it was going to take time and patience, and not to expect too much from the dog, and just to accept the fact that, hey, there's going to be some collateral damage here. Like, you are probably going to lose a baseboard. You are going to lose sleep. You are going to be stressed. It is going to be hard. Keep your expectations low and your patience high with the dog going into it, because getting a puppy is supposed to be like this wonderful, like, fun thing. Everybody romanticizes it and they're like, oh, new puppy, like, so awesome. But actually it's so much work and it's so stressful for the first little bit. And anybody who says it isn't either got super lucky, or maybe just doesn't care as much as I do about keeping their house clean or getting sleep or something, because it is harder than you think it's going to be. But to that, I would add the next thing I wish I would have known before getting a German Shepherd puppy is that he would exceed our expectations because they're so smart. So again, I don't know if it's because it's just this breed, but he is so smart. Like, all the things that I was expecting were going to be so much harder to train, take so much longer, and be so difficult. And the things he would do and how horrible things would be, based on all of this crap I was reading on Reddit and seeing on YouTube, he exceeded our expectations with everything. He was sleeping through the night, I would say, by the end of the second month we had him, or the middle of the second month, like within a few weeks, he was sleeping through the night. Didn't expect that to happen. Fully potty trained very quickly. Is not destroying the house. Did not destroy anything in the house. He started chewing on the couch. We put an end to that. He started chewing on a baseboard. We put an end to that. Trained him out of it. Peed on the carpet a couple times. We took the carpets away for a bit, reintroduced them later when he was older. So all these things that we thought would just be a never-ending, like, struggle and hassle, he has actually exceeded our expectations so much. Like, we were reading that some dogs are not fully house trained until they're like 7 or 8 months. But with him, he had it down in like a few weeks. And I don't know if it's just because of his breed or because we just did a really good job with training, but I wish I would have known that all my stresses, that he would exceed our expectations, and I didn't need to be that stressed. And a lot of it could be his breed, because they are one of the smartest breeds in the world, and they're also so easy to train, and they're so eager to please, and they're just great dogs. So wish I would have known that I didn't need to stress as much as I was stressing with a German Shepherd. I wish I would have known what the puppy blues were. So I didn't even know that puppy blues were a thing. I have had a new baby in the house before, and I have gone through the baby blues, so I knew what that was, but I didn't know that baby blues were a thing. And I wish I would have known what that was before getting the dog, because let me tell you, we went through it. I went through it. It was mostly me. For the first like 4 to 6 weeks, I was so stressed out. I was literally acting like a basket case. I was crying all the time. I felt depressed. I felt anxious. I couldn't sleep a lot of the times. Even my partner and I started like bumping heads about things that we normally don't bump heads about. I was feeling just like my life was completely uprooted, and it was a really stressful feeling. And I think a lot of people, if they've never been through the puppy blues, they don't get it, or they're like, oh, I can't believe you're complaining about having a puppy. Like, it's not that bad. But for one thing, everybody's path is their own path. Everybody interprets and deals with things differently. And I'm somebody who already has struggled with depression and anxiety in my past. So having my whole life changed overnight to something I wasn't expecting, not getting any sleep, all of these extra things, constantly being bitten by this little land shark who's running around biting your ankles all day, cleaning up pee constantly, feeling like you can't leave the house, the anxiety and the stress of not being able to leave the house, the fact that I should have been crate training and wasn't really crate training, all these things, I was so stressed out. It was literally like being a brand new mom. And I was going through exactly the same thing with the puppy as I was when I had my daughter. No word of a lie. So I wish I would have known what puppy blues were. I honestly don't know if I would have gotten a dog if I would have known what I was in for those first couple months. I don't think I would have done it, because there was definitely moments where I was like, I don't think I was ready for a puppy. Like, I don't know if I want a puppy. It does get better, definitely. So when people tell you it gets better, it does. But getting through those first like few weeks is hard, very, very hard. So I wish I would have known that going into it. I would have tried to prepare better, or at least I would have been prepared. I would have known that, hey, this is normal. and this is going to pass. That would have been really good information, because people kept trying to tell me like, hey, you shouldn't be so stressed. Like, why are you so stressed? This is supposed to be a fun thing. Even my boyfriend, he was like, this is supposed to be a wonderful, like, good thing. Like getting a puppy, it's a joyful thing. Sure it is, just like having a baby is joyful, but it's still work. It's still hard, and it still messes with your emotions and your hormones and your sleep and everything else. And especially when, like, for me, I literally felt like my dog was my child. Like, I was so attached to that dog. I was so concerned over him and worried over him. And I was so, like, emotionally attached to him. And the thought of ever possibly, like, giving him up or giving him back to the breeder or something broke my heart. So it was something I couldn't ever fathom doing. So then I felt like, well, I'm stuck with this baby now. Like this, we're going to have to deal with it. Whatever happens, we're going to have to deal with it. And it was just really, really hard. And I just wish I would have known before getting him what I was in for. That's another thing I wish I would have known, is to not let people shame me for being stressed out. Because even on YouTube, I did a couple of puppy vlogs, and most people were wonderful and understanding, but there was a couple people, and they're, you always remember the rude comments that people leave, even though I try not to read comments these days because I just don't have the energy to listen to people be rude. But there's always going to be a couple of rude people. And one person was like, I can't believe you're complaining so much about having a puppy. If you didn't want a puppy, why did you get one? And they made me feel so bad. Like I was like, I should feel guilty for being like stressed out about having my dog. So that was one thing I wish I would have known, is like, this is normal. And to be this stressed out when you have a new puppy, it can be very, very stressful. Getting a new puppy causes a lot of changes in your life, and it's very, very difficult to deal with. And especially if you already deal with anxiety or depression, it can trigger it for the first little bit. And I wish I would have known that it was normal and to be expected, and not to let anybody make me feel bad about it. And I also wish people around me would have known that it was normal as well. Like even my boyfriend had never like heard about the puppy blues or anything. I was the one who was going through it. I wish people around me would have known that, hey, this is normal, this is to be expected, and it will get better, and there's no shame in it. And I wish people in general were kinder on the internet, but that's something you can't change. And the last thing I wish I would have known before getting a German Shepherd dog is the activity level and the exercise needs of this breed. Again, we did not do maybe enough research, or maybe we didn't think it was going to be as much. Like you read about and you hear about, oh, they need like 1 to 2 hours of exercise a day. And you think, oh yeah, that's fine. Like we can play ball, we can take them for walks and all this stuff. Once you're actually in it, you're like, oh wow, this is actually a huge commitment. And I don't think it would have changed our choice in breed. I don't think we would have gotten any other breed. Like German Shepherd just came out on top for us in so many different categories. And we're okay with the exercise needs. One thing I will say is that having a German Shepherd, you will definitely lose weight and you will get fit. If you want a good exercise plan, just get yourself a German Shepherd puppy. Guarantee you will get fit, more fit than you are, and you will lose weight if you need to lose weight. Like I don't even need to do cardio anymore because I have the dog. I've been able to stop going to the gym six times a week. I only go like 2 to 3 times a week now because of the exercise demands of this puppy. Taking him outside for walks, throwing the ball, taking him to the park, constantly going downstairs in the basement and playing frisbee and playing tug with him and stuff like this, all the training, cleaning the house, taking him out to go pee, all this stuff. You underestimate the amount of calories you burn having a dog like this. I would have been more prepared ahead of time. Like I would have made sure I knew dog walkers in the area, doggy daycares. I didn't even know there was such a thing as doggy daycare. I would have had all these things ahead of time, like lined up for myself to make it easier. Also going into winter, because we got the dog in the middle of December. Thankfully, we had a pretty mild December. The weather was decent. It was cool, but it wasn't below freezing every single day. So it was a really good time to potty train a dog because we were outside every 2 to 3 hours. So I'm really glad it wasn't super, super cold. But taking him out in like minus 20 degrees Celsius weather for that exercise he needs every day at the age he has now, which is 5 months, you're out there for like at least an hour a day between walks, going to the park, letting him chase the ball in the yard. I wish I would have known that going into it because I might have just like, I don't know if it would have changed anything, but it's just a big adjustment. And granted, as dogs get older, they do settle down a little bit and they don't need as intense exercise. But right now when he's awake, he's a go, go, go. Like when he's awake, he wants to play and he wants to play hard. And I kind of wish I would have known that going into it. Honestly, like if it was just me, I probably would have I don't know if I would have gotten a smaller breed or like a more chill breed, because I've always wanted a large dog like this. I've always wanted a German Shepherd. It's just always been there. But I'm really glad that I have my partner's support and also my daughter here to help, because I don't know if I could handle him just me. Like, it's a lot of work. So that's one thing I wish I would have known. Like, you think you understand before you get a dog. You're like, oh yeah, I can, take him for an hour walk every day, or I can take him to the park for 45 minutes every evening and play ball. And it sounds just like every other commitment in your life. It sounds like something you're willing to commit to and like you can do it, but you don't fully grasp the actual like demand till you're in the moment and it is that demanding. And you're like, well, shoot, if I don't do this, he is going to go crazy and he is going to start tearing up the house and he is going to be bored and he is going to do all these bad puppy behaviors that people warn you about. I think that's one of the reasons he hasn't been bad, because he doesn't have an opportunity to get bored. Like, we stimulate him so much between playing with a couple of his doggy friends a couple times a week, taking him outside to play ball, taking him to play frisbee, walking him, chasing him around in the yard, playing tug, doing puzzles with him, getting him a snuffle mat, all this stuff. Trying to socialize him and all these things. Like, we take him out to like stores whenever we can too. Like, he gets so much attention. I think that could also be why he hasn't been a troublesome dog and hasn't tried to destroy things. But anyway, again, it's been just such a learning curve. Like, I felt like a new mom who knew nothing about babies going into it, like a new dog mom who knew nothing about puppies going into it. It has all been just like learning curve after learning curve after learning curve. All things I wish I would have known before I got into it. And I will end the video by saying there's one other thing that was really, really helpful. And it was something I saw in a dog trainer's video, one of the few videos that actually was really helpful. I'll try to link his channel down below if I can find it. But he basically talked about the developmental stages of dogs and how you have to cater what you expect of them and what you train with them based on their age. So for example, like, when they first come home, you don't want to be trying to train them super complex things. Your first thing you're concerned about when they come home is that they're not peeing in the house. You're thinking about sleep. You're thinking about peeing outside, potty training. The first couple months that they're home, the biggest thing is potty training. After you've conquered that, then you can start worrying about the teething. That's your next developmental stage, is getting through that teething phase. Don't worry about all the other stuff. Don't get so hung up on like teaching them to walk on a leash and teaching them to come when you call him and do all these tricks. The main thing you're getting through, the main thing that is so hard for most people, is that teething phase, making sure he doesn't destroy the house, making sure he doesn't eat things he's not supposed to, making sure he's got things to chew on, making sure that he's not biting you, trying to teach him not to bite you. Those are all things you need to focus on then. So that is something that I wish that we would have taken into account, is his developmental stage and where he was at. This one YouTuber who I saw, he broke down the stages of a puppy's life from like 0 to 8 weeks and from 8 to 16 weeks and 16 to 20 and 20 forward, and basically told you like what you should be focusing on for that age for the dog. And I wish that we would have known about that to begin with, because in the beginning we were both so overwhelmed with like all this stuff that we had to teach him. And we actually dedicated a large amount of our days to trying to train him, which in hindsight might have been very beneficial, because right from like 8, 9, 10 weeks, we were working on lots of things like sit, stay, paw, like all these things. We taught him like 10 commands before he was even, I think, 3 months old. And he was so smart, he picked up on pretty much all of them. But we were so caught up in like when we would take him outside on the leash and stuff, like trying to get him to pay attention and teaching him to heel and all this stuff, we didn't realize that a lot of the stuff you have to wait until they're older for them to really benefit from that training. And it just would have made our lives so much easier and so much more stress-free if we would have just focused on the basics for each phase in the dog's life. I felt like we had a toddler that we were trying to teach like high school algebra to, essentially, is what you could compare it to. So yeah, that would be the 10th thing that I wish we would have known before getting a German Shepherd puppy. So to summarize the video, I would say that I definitely don't regret getting this breed. German Shepherds are one of the smartest, most beautiful, brilliant dog breeds on the planet, not just physically beautiful, but mentally beautiful. They're extremely loyal. They're extremely affectionate. They pick up on things super fast. And we get, I mean, not that it matters, but we get people complimenting us nonstop. Like when they see him, everybody just falls in love with him and comments how beautiful he is, or like, yeah, he's such an incredible dog. Everyone seems to fall in love with him. And it's funny because he's at the stage now where he's kind of wanting to defend us from other people. And he doesn't like or necessarily trust everybody that he meets, but everybody instantly likes him. So it's kind of funny because everybody wants to get to know him and like be his friend, and he doesn't really want to be their friend. Yeah, I think all in all, I'm really happy that we got the breed that we did. Like, I was thinking about other breeds and other traits and sizes and stuff. And I think that no matter what dog breed you get, every breed is going to have its own challenge. I don't know for sure because I haven't had all of them, but I think whether you go with small, medium, large, and different types of dogs, different breeds of dogs, dogs that have different working heritage and working history, they're all going to come with their own things that make them really easy or really good or really great dogs, and other things that might make it a little bit more challenging. And I think that's what's really special about them. Like, I'm so happy at the end of the day that we got a German Shepherd. I also didn't realize, like, before we got him, just how much the world loves this breed. GSDs have this like cult following of people who just think it is the greatest dog in the world. And I'm sure that other dogs have the same thing. Like Jack Russell Terriers, I think, have like their own cult following. Yeah, lots of different dog breeds, have their followings of people who think that that specific dog breed is the best dog breed in the world for whatever reason. But we certainly do think he is the greatest dog in the world. And yeah, I will say that it's getting easier. I will say that I definitely felt like I was about to lose my mind a few times. And now that we've had him for 3 months, we're starting to get more into a routine. And the hardest part about him right now, and it's not even that you can't even really say it's hard, but the hardest thing is keeping up with his energy and his activity demands in cold weather. Once it's summertime, I think it's going to be so much easier because we can go for those nice longer walks. We can go to places that are further away. We can take him on excursions and adventures, and we can go travel. We can go to the sandhills. We can go to parks. We can go to the mountains. We can go to places that have hiking trails and big open fields and places he can run around and explore and sniff to his heart's content and chase a ball and go swimming and do all these things. And that'll be really fun to start incorporating a little bit of that. And even just to be able to walk longer and further with him and not have to worry about the fact that it's so cold and we're freezing our butts off. I think it's just the cold weather in the winter that has been the hardest thing. Because honestly, like, we are fairly active people. We like going for walks. We like going to the park. We like playing ball. We like doing things like that. That's one of the reasons we wanted a dog, is because that was already part of our lifestyle. And we thought, how great would it be if we had a dog companion to do these things with? Like, it's something we've wanted for a long time. We didn't just like one day decide, hey, let's get a dog. It would be cute. It's like something we wanted for part of our lifestyle. So as with all things though, once you don't really realize just how much effort and work is going to be required of it until you actually get that thing. It's like going into nursing school. You don't realize what you're really in for until you're in it. And then you're like, oh wow, so this is what it's like being a nurse. Same thing with being a GSD mom. You don't realize really what it is until you get a dog. So that's about it for today's video though, you guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope that it helped somebody or made somebody feel a little bit less alone. As with all of these videos, because I know that they're not like super visually exciting, my goal is that it either reaches somebody who needed to hear it, made somebody feel less alone, helped somebody, gave them a tip, or helped somebody feel like somebody else could relate to them on something. Even if only 10 people in the world find this video helpful or relatable or good to listen to, that's all I can hope for. And thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys are interested in following my dog Ivar's journey or my journey or anything, feel free to subscribe. And you can also feel free to head over and follow on Instagram. I share a lot more content about him over on Instagram. And I also try to answer all my messages in a timely manner over there, whereas here it's hard for me to sift through comments. So if you have a specific question or you want to talk about something or you want to ask me about something, please write me on Instagram. That is the best way to reach me. So thanks for watching, you guys, and I'll see you all very soon in my next video. Bye for now.